we need to develop a sort of narrative around AI that is African-centered.
Yeah.
AI has to be built locally. AI has to be developed locally. We need more companies and we need more entrepreneurs. We need more investors really getting excited and being part of AI in Africa.
Yeah.
In a sense. So I'm super excited. So everyone is talking about ChatGPT. Everyone is talking about Perplexity. Everyone is talking about Gemini. And I think it's time that we have call it African focused AI. Like some big companies in Africa building in AI, and I'm so excited to do this with you, Shepherd.
Yeah.
And looking forward to get this thing happening.
Yeah, I think even with what you just said now is the name itself just says a lot about where we are. So we're in Cape Town, and Bytes Biltong.
Which is the Biltong? Which is the Biltong part? Which is the Biltong part?
100%. So I wanted you to get into that. Please share the inspiration behind the name and what can people expect from our podcast.
Yeah, so we're looking at Bytes Biltong. So Bytes is basically BYTES, which is the play. Here we are, Shepherd. We're doing this. We are at it.
And we started.
It's been a long time in the making, but we are here with Bytes and Biltong.
Yeah.
I call it the biggest AI podcast in Africa.
Yeah,
it
100%.
is lovely,
100%.
and this is episode number 1, and we're quite excited to get to be doing this, and I'm very excited to get to be doing this with you as well.
Yeah.
In a sense, and we are on a path to learning, laughing a lot, and then just become part of a bigger community about thinking about AI and thinking about how we can build with AI in Africa.
Yeah, that's an exciting time for us, and I mean, you would say you've got a lot of podcasts that are running. Why are we adding another one?
Like, why are we adding another podcast?
Yeah,
It's like,
100%.
cool. All these people on the internet saying, look, it's too many podcasts. Like, everyone is starting a podcast. Everyone has a podcast.
Everyone is a podcast.
Everyone is a podcast. And the question is, okay, why are we doing another podcast? Why do we think it's necessary to spend, part of our time and spend some, storage and data in some servers of YouTube? Why we're wasting that in a sense. And the way I think about it is, what is going on at the moment with AI is something that has to be understood in a sense, and there has to be a bigger conversation around AI specifically in Africa, in the African context.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of things going on with in America. There's a lot of things happening in China. There's a lot of things, quite a number of things happening in Europe. But I don't see that there is like a big enough focus and emphasis about the impacts of AI and how Africa can get engaged with AI in the African context, in a sense. So we will sort of focus more on, what's happening with AI in the African context, in a sense. So we need to develop a sort of narrative around AI that is African-centered.
Yeah.
In a sense. So we need to do that. AI has to be built locally. AI has to be developed locally. We need more companies and we need more entrepreneurs. We need more investors really getting excited and being part of AI in Africa. Yeah. In a sense. So I'm super excited about this. And our focus generally, the way I look at it is, we love learning and we love sharing, and we are super students and we're curious about what's going on in the world. So the goal is to have conversations around that in a technical sense, conversations about that in an implementation sense, and also just shaping the narrative and sort of providing the context that is Africa-centric. In a sense. So everyone is talking about, ChatGPT, everyone is talking about Perplexity, everyone is talking about Gemini, and I think it's time that we have, call it, African-focused AI. like some big companies in Africa building in AI. And I'm so excited to be doing this with you, Shepherd.
Yeah.
And looking forward to get this thing happening.
Yeah, I think even with what you just said now is the name itself just says a lot about where we are. So we're in Cape Town, and Bytes and Biltong.
Which is a biltong, which is a biltong part.
100%, yes.
Which is a biltong part.
100%. So I wanted you to get into that. Please share the inspiration behind the name and what can people expect from our podcast.
Yeah, so we're looking at Bytes and Biltong. So Bytes is basically BYTES, which is the play on Bytes, which is BITES, but it's actually BYTES, which is basically a unit of data, which is basically a byte, in a sense, and then which is about technology. So we will talk about AI, but we also talk about other technology. Like I look at this podcast as, call it, an African AI pulse, where we are going to engage deeply into what's really happening with AI, where 100%. The opportunities are, and how to build with AI in the government, how to build with AI in companies, and how to build with AI in your personal life, how to basically do your personal landscaping with sort of generative AI. You take pictures and then it can produce some results for you, and then you can start working your landscaping like that, or your interior design. How do you get to do that for yourself in your own home? So it will cover all of that from a technology standpoint. And then secondly, we're going to look at the Biltong part, which is the Biltong part, which is sort of the culture of Cape Town. We are in Cape Town, and I'm a big believer that Cape Town is uniquely positioned to produce, call it, the best AI in Africa, in a sense.
100%.
And I'm not being Cape Town biased, in a sense. You know, I call myself a Cape Townian because I've been in Cape Town for such a long time. Yeah. But there are a whole lot of factors in terms of, you know, the population, the call it adoption of new technology in Cape Town. It is definitely quicker. There is, you know, some communities that are like the Silicon Cap, which is some guys that are really thinking about technology in a sense. There's a lot of work happening with Startup Grind, which is basically, you know, a group of, you know, young people and, you know, people that have built smaller companies that are trying to do some very interesting stuff in the technology space, in a way. So it is more, you know, Cape Town centric in a sense. How do you build in AI, but also how do you become part of the culture? Like, it is AI, it is very, very serious, a serious conversation, but at the same time, it has to be, call it, culturally relevant within the context of South Africa and Cape Town.
Yeah, and I mean, what you just said now is in Africa, we it seems like I wouldn't want to use the word being sidelined, but it seems like the technology is not coming to our side, and we need to control that narrative. How are we starting to implement the using of AI in Africa?
The usage of AI, and that's really, and the way you're putting it now, you're saying, call it, the usage of AI, which is very indicative of where we are currently. Yeah, that we are more consumers of AI, of the technology, rather than the producers of the technology.
That's right.
So at the moment, that is sort of the position that we are in. And that position, in my opinion, it has to change, and it has to change very, very quickly. So just to give you a sort of the history of, call it, artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is always been there. It's not a new technology per se. It has always been there. The difference between, call it, old AI and the new AI is that the old, let me get back to it. So let's go back to, like, basic computing. Yeah. So your original computing platforms were derived from your normal library. So when Google started their company, which is now Alphabet, the idea there was organizing the world's information, which is basically taking the information in the world and putting it into some library where someone can intelligently search that library.
Okay.
In a sense.
That's right.
So you call it retrieval computing, where you're basically just retrieving information from a library.
Okay, that's more like me searching how to cook lasagna.
How to cook lasagna,
Okay.
exactly. And then what Google typically would do for you is it will basically just arrange some interesting links for you. So it's like a librarian. When you get in there, you're looking for a certain book. What a librarian will do will give you, an indication of, okay, cool, your book is, at this corner, you'll find the book that you're looking at.
That's right.
On there. So Google will give you coordinates to a certain link, and then it will rank all those links based on relevance and your search. But this was just search, which means retrieval. It's basically directing you to the right link, and that link has been written by an individual, most of it, an individual that is typing what they are thinking, and then it becomes a collection of links, similar to a library concept. So that was what we called retrieval computing.
Yeah, and I think what you said last time when you came on our other podcast is you talked about the internet was one big move into us changing our society.
Yeah.
And AI is now also the big change. So how does that also affect where we are, like you're talking about the retrieving of information as well?
Yeah, so which is a big thing in terms of where we are. So you get like the Industrial Revolution, which is powered by electricity, for example, and sort of the advent of motors and all of that, which changed the whole dynamic. So it changed how governments function. It changed about how we do warfare. It changed about how we learn about things. It sort of drove a whole world population to move in a certain direction. And then when the internet came through, it started connecting, people and started moving information.
That's
and
Facebook.
That is where Facebook and all these companies, they basically started really building some very interesting stuff that connects people, which was where we are. And then from a knowledge standpoint, because when talking about AI, we're talking about, call it artificial intelligence, which is basically, call it an intelligence, I'll call it an intelligence explosion.
Yeah.
So 100%. Something is happening with, information being given to you in a slightly different way than it used to be given to you.
That's right.
So the initial one was retrieval, where you basically just get in there, you get information, but you're given coordinates to a certain link, and then you open that link, and then you start reading in the link. So what's going on now is basically generative AI, which is something very unique and very different, in a sense where this system is not giving you coordinates to a certain book. This system is taking 20 or 30 books or 50 books or 100 books in that library and looking for relevant information
to cook your lasagna.
Exactly, on how to cook lasagna. So it's not just one book now. It's not just one link. So it's basically taking 200 books, and then it's basically condensing all of that data and basically serving that to you in a way that aligns with how you want it. So it's more generative. So 100%. It's not just giving you a line from the book.
It's not giving you a link to a PDF somewhere.
Exactly. It's not giving you a link to a PDF somewhere. What it's basically doing is reorganizing everything, and it's giving you this information in a palatable way that you can understand.
And when you're saying this, I'm actually remembering, or not remembering, or let me use the word, the use of vlogs. People used to write blogs. In there you would be a subject matter on something, and the moment you search how to create a diode or how to build a diode or a circuit somewhere, you'll find someone who has written a blog and gives you all that information.
Exactly. So you also used to have a blog, but now blogs are sort of things on the post. I mean, you still get some people that are still writing blogs that are being collated by AI in a sense. So you can sort of write your own blog, and then you can get AI to basically help you do that in a sense. But it's just becoming slightly different with generative AI. All these systems are very good at like combining a whole lot of information as long as you give it sufficient context. So you basically have to give it sufficient context. So which is from where we are currently, we have moved from call it your retrieval computing to basically generative computing.
Yeah.
Which is basically, when you talk about chat GPT, it's basically the G in there is basically generative on there. So you're really talking about a system that is very intelligent and that can assist you and that can generate information based on a whole lot of data that's given, which is basically given to it in a sense. So that is sort of where we are. And then with ChatGPT, when it came through, one of the biggest changes was giving you, call it an interface that you can work with. So previously, GPT was there before, call it ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So the whole transformer, and we're going to talk about, the sort of the transformer part, which is basically this paper that was written by Google, which has to do with the transformer model. We changed the whole thing in terms of how you actually train these models to present all that information, to present all that information to you. But that is where GPT came in. But then ChatGPT gave you an interface where now you can ask a question or you can prompt it to basically do anything for you. And then after that, it changed everything. Everyone got excited about it. Yeah. And the adoption of ChatGPT was higher than an adoption of any technology in known history. How quickly people got onto the technology, how people got excited about the tech, how people got there to really, everyone was talking about AI now. Why? Because it's now very easy to download. You can download it. You can get it on the web. You can get all that information. But it's really about now the paradigm has changed. So initially you have the retrieval one, and then after that now you have generative, and then now you are presented to it. It is presented to you in a very, very easy way and palatable way that you can engage with quite easily on there. So it is very, very exciting. And just to sort of give you a bit of a, call it the pillars of this technology around AI. So the way I look at it is, I look at it from its energy at the top, which is basically these things are going to require a whole lot of energy.
So that means the grids need to be stable. The grids need to be able to
accommodate that.
Accommodate it,
yeah. So you're looking at you need a whole lot of energy to basically do that. And the way to think about it is energy is basically in two ways. So what you actually have, you have all these chips that are doing all these calculations to be able to interpret whatever you are asking the system for it to basically calculate and give you an answer back that fits the context that you're looking at. So all those calculations on these chips require a whole lot of energy.
That's right.
And then secondly, you're looking at the cooling of all of this. So these servers, they're working a lot. So you're looking at all the HVAC systems that get into those facilities in the data centers. They need to be cooled for them to basically function at an optimal level. So it's the cooling and the calculation, and then all the ancillary services around it that are required for the data center to function. So energy is a big thing. So they sort of, call it the increase in AI is almost directly proportional to
the power usage
that's available in there. So
is that why they want to build data centers in space?
Exactly. And that's the reason why Elon at the moment is basically going with with data centers in space. So he's moving in that direction now. It's okay, look, we can actually build data centers in space. However, that also brings me to what is the advantage that Africa has in terms of energy.
Okay.
So a lot of the African countries, one thing that's common about them is that they are extremely hot.
Hot, yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing is, most of Africa, there is a whole lot of empty space on there. So all we need to do is to have some energy companies that can place a whole lot of solar panels somewhere, and then have a data center build close to that. And then you have a whole lot of energy, and then you can cool, and then you can train all of those. You can basically train all of that. So all of these multinational companies that are in Africa, now they are really part of, building the data centers locally within Africa. On there. So that is sort of the energy piece. And Africa is uniquely positioned to be really part of a big part around the energy component. Because these things require a lot of energy. So that's the first part. The second part is the chips, which is NVIDIA now is basically, call it the most valuable company in the world because it's basically producing these computer chips, which are uniquely, so these are computer chips that are uniquely developed to basically do the generative training on there. So that's a big thing. So it's basically TSMC and NVIDIA. And then you also have Google doing their own chips, but NVIDIA is basically leading on the chip side, on the chip side in that sense. So chips are important. Do I think Africa is very positioned well to develop their own chips? We don't have that experience at this point where we've developed our own chips.
We have the raw materials, yes.
So we have the raw materials. So we do have the raw materials, but we haven't really developed
infrastructures, yes.
The infrastructure to be able to do that.
100%, yeah.
And it's not a very simple thing to basically develop all of these pipelines that make all of these things work in a way. I'm not saying it's an impossible goal, but it's probably there are, call it easier ways to basically enter within that market. So we talked about energy, we talked about chips. Those chips, they have to be somewhere. They have to be in server racks somewhere where the cooling happens, where the training happens for the models and everything. So you bring me to data centers. So there has to be data centers that are built uniquely. So you used to have, call it the old data centers, like your typical AWS, which is a cloud storage for information. Which is, for lack of a better word, which is sort of a library of information. So that people can retrieve that information close to where they are. In a sense. So Google have the Google data centers that are basically doing processing all the searches, and they have all that information. So it's mainly heavy on memory in a sense. So it's basically keeping this, and then it's basically getting all the queries in, and then processing that, and then serving that to you. The closer you are to it, the better in a sense. So Google, AWS, they used to do that. Now you have these chips that are purely for training the model. So you now need to host these models locally.
Okay, I see.
In a sense. So you basically have all these, a big model that has been, call it a pre-trained model in a sense. So Chat GPT, generative, pre-trained, that's the P on there, transformer model.
Okay,
I see. It's basically generative. It has been pre-trained,
yes.
And then it's basically pre-trained based on the method, which is basically the transformer method of training the models, in a sense. So now we have GPT, which is any model, most of the models are trained based on that, with other layers where you have to do some reinforcement to it, and the humans get involved, in a sense, to basically train all of these models. But the best level of that is basically the power of training based on the transformer model in a way. So now you get all these models, they have to be trained somewhere, and they have to be stored somewhere. And that is what brings in, call it your local data centers in a sense. And these data centers are uniquely designed specifically for generative training in a sense. So you have your energy, and then you have your chips, and then you have your data centers. And then you have your models. So the models at the moment we have, call it the larger models that we have, which is basically, we know, call it the big 5 models coming from, Meta, Gemini, Perplexity,
Cloud,
and then from China you also have DeepSeek, which is also there. You also have quite a lot of models from China. And the reason why we only mainly know the American ones is because the Americans are always in our face.
100%.
They're basically telling us, oh, this is what we have and all of that. And we have been using the technology for a long time. So we continue using the technology. But China also, there are a lot of very good models that are also coming out of China. So now you have all of these models that are being stored in the data center in these chips on there. Then the third one is applications. So applications is now you're looking at how do you take all of these trained models to build something with them that the consumers want. So you can build banking applications, for example, using GPT. You can build intelligent chat platforms using GPT. You can build agricultural platforms using GPT. You can build like, vision stuff using GPT. So now you're building, call it your traditional apps that you can serve to the public using the models on there. So that is the application layer, which is there. And then the last layer, which is coming now, which is literally just come last year in a sense, which is agents. So now instead of having an application that is basically that you prompt for it to do something, you basically have an agent that's actually doing the work for you.
So that's now in the background.
That's now in the background. So it is basically doing all the work for you. It's basically running around. You give it a task, and then it goes out there. It collaborates with other models. It can get into your files. It can get stuff, and then it serves you something that you can work with.
So the agents, it almost feels like they are a build-up to AGI.
Yeah, so the agents are, it's a question of what is AGI, right? So what is AGI? So there is a whole lot of debates about what exactly, are we already there with AGI? Basically call it artificial general intelligence. But are we there yet? It depends on how someone defines that, in a sense. So someone can say, it is more like, it's a question of like, are humans really intelligent? So when someone asks the question like, are humans really intelligent? It's like, okay, what exactly do you mean? Like human beings have different levels of intelligence, and then at what context are you looking at? So in terms of reading and writing, are the models that we have currently artificially, generally intelligent in reading and writing? Guaranteed.
That's right, yeah.
They can do that very, very well. Then you think about, okay, cool, vision. Are the models that we have currently artificially, generally intelligent to interpret what they see? Not that much. So they are really good at like taking your text data that is on the internet and that they have been fed, and interpret that in a way where they do next word prediction, and then they can give you nice sentences. They can make all the jokes for you. They can do all these interesting things. But then there is a category of, call it real world models that has to be built, where these models are trained not just on the internet, but trained on basic interaction with the real world. Because the real world is messy and it is complex. The internet is predictable. So the way we communicate, the reason why we are successful as a species is because we are very good at communicating within specific context, so we can cooperate. And that is easy for AI to basically follow.
That's right.
But then once you start moving in the real world is very messy. Someone can frown, and someone can look unhappy as a way to like trick you to do something. So humans are very very weird. Yeah,
complex. Yeah,
very complex. That's the right word. So they're actually very complex in a way. So I would say like AGI as it is like until we solve, call it real world issues, like interactions of computers with the real world, we are really not there yet.
Yeah.
And that is going to take, a really bit of time. But coming back to our agents sort of factor into AGI, it's the idea of applications collaborating to produce an outcome.
Yeah.
And that is fantastic. That is like interesting. But this is a new paradigm of computing now. So it's like, oh, now you have my agent that's basically working on, let's say I'm writing a book, and I'm going to write a book that involves different contexts. So it involves, Africa, it involves Europe, and it involves China. And then I can have an agent that is an expert of translating a very old tradition in China. So that agent would just go to look for everything about China and then compile that, summarize it, make sure that it makes sense. And you have another agent that is in Europe that is looking at the information of Europe, the history of Europe, that is doing that. And then you have another one that is really focused on Africa. So it is more like you are a senior partner in a law firm, and then you have 5 people who are basically running around on a single case doing research on
the research, yes,
research on one person, all of that, and after that they all come together and they present you with this information. So that is sort of that world of, it's basically the world of agents, which is basically that layer. So we are sort of getting there now, not 100% there yet, but if you're looking at it's called Claw, right? The one from
Anthropic.
From Anthropic.
Yes.
So it's basically thinking about the idea of computer use, where you have these systems being able to use computers in a way that you use a computer. So, and the whole story, and I might butcher the story now, but the way to think about it is like, if you are living mostly in Africa, in some areas where you don't have internet, for example, but then you want to run a large transactions or large computer processes from a place that can just give you a little bit of WhatsApp connection. So what you start doing is you start communicating with your computer using WhatsApp chat and telling your computer to basically do some stuff for you.
Wow.
Okay, cool. Go through my emails and check 1 or 2 things and open this file and download this file on there. And once you download this file, open my Outlook. And then once you open my Outlook, I want you to send this email to this person and copy this person and BCC this person. So you are you're in a low bandwidth, low connection area, and you're communicating back with the application on your computer. And the application on your computer is basically looking at all the different files that are available within
in the
your
PC,
computer, and then doing all this work for you.
Wow.
Because have you ever been in a situation where you want to download this big file, but you're in a remote space where the internet is not playing along? But 100%. Now with this agent, now you have an agent which is like almost everyone is going to have, call it a
personal assistant. I could see that one coming.
All right. So you have a personal assistant that can go through your computer, do stuff and all of that, and hopefully there's nothing shady on your computer. But that also brings the issue of safety and privacy and all of that. Like, what can your agent do, and can you sue your agent, and can you have a contractual agreement with your agent, in a sense? So if you have your agent that's sort of working for you, that's doing stuff for you, you should be able to have a contract with your agent. And that contract has to have specific rules that you can access this information, but it's basically call it agent and honor privacy rules on there. Like, whatever you see on my computer, you're never by any chance, by any means,
use it as data to teach someone else.
use it exactly. You're never going to use this against me. The same way we deal with our own private assistants who are available there. So and we'll talk more about agents as we go along. But that's sort of those 6 layers that we're looking at, which is basically energy at the top, and then you have the chips, which is basically where the training is happening, where the storage is all happening on there. Then you have your data centers where your chips are stored in there. Then you have your models, which is basically where call it the intelligence is, in a sense. And the idea that you can train your model anywhere in the world, which is where Elon and the guys, they are thinking about, training all these models in space, because there's just immense amount of energy on there. And then you train it there and you bring the model back to Earth, and then it is super intelligent on there, and then you can start accessing that model to build the next level, which is the application level. And then after the application level, now you have these, call it agents, which are basically getting to use those applications, which is computer use. So it can use your phone, it can use those applications, and it can make some decisions for you as well to a certain limit, and then you can have sort of that relationship with them in a sense.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of stuff that are happening on AI. I think people should get excited about it.
Yeah, so it is. I mean, it is quite exciting, and I think part of why I always thought, like, it's like I think we need to have, call it, a podcast that's centered around AI. It's not because I'm an expert on AI. I'm not an expert on AI, but I'm very interested in AI. I'm very interested. Like, I remember when I started learning about AI, it was more at the time it was more machine learning, which is like very, call it basic AI.
Yeah.
Like all these recommender systems that Facebook was using and Google was using, and then working through a whole lot of data and all of that. It was a whole big data, call it a big data revolution. On there. Which is, everyone was talking about big data. Everyone was talking about machine learning and all of that. But there was definitely an inkling in me that always said, there's something here. There's something is going on, and something is happening. And when generative AI came through, it was absolutely obvious that, okay, we are here now. Like, it's absolutely obvious. Like, we are here. Like, this is it. Like, this is going to change everything. It's going to change how humans interact with humans. It's going to change how governments function. It's going to change how humans, interact with applications and the advent of models and all of these things. And it's very interesting. And it's not like there's nothing happening in Africa, for example. And I think we had a brief conversation about cassava.
Yeah.
Which is also part of what we'll do on the podcast, is basically just really sort of put in the spotlight some companies that are working on very, very interesting stuff. So there's a company called it's called Cassava Technologies, which is
so this is a part of the podcast where we put the spotlight on one company.
We put the spotlight on one company.
All right.
So we're basically just putting the spotlight on them to say, look, it's not like there's nothing happening in Africa. The whole story, like, okay, cool. Everyone thinks in Africa people live with lions and zebras and all of that.
100%. Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. Like, okay. I mean, it's not like there's nothing happening. There are quite some very interesting things that are happening in Africa, and a big part of that is basically with the cassava technology. So this is a guy called Strive Masiwa, actually from Zimbabwe. On there, but he's basically building a whole lot of systems within Africa. So his background was in telecommunications.
That's right.
So he basically built like a big telecoms company, and he got into fiber, which is getting internet to the masses. In a sense. So he has always been, call it an enabler, because you need, which is one thing that Africa is lacking in general, is I call it like functional capital markets.
Okay.
So we don't have the capital markets that allow the entrepreneurs to take big risks. So if you are an entrepreneur and you have like this massive idea, or what you think is a massive idea, and you just want to try it out, you have to choose between leaving a job that's giving you a good salary, that you can pay your rent on time, you can drive a nice car, your kids are happy, your wife is happy, and then you don't risk anything. So you'd rather do that if the upside is not that attractive.
That's right.
If you are in Silicon Valley, I guess you have dinner with some billionaire there, or some person that just sold his big company, they can write me a check immediately. So there are stories where someone have a conversation, okay, cool, this is very interesting, they look at you, you can build stuff, or you've done it before, or you are very intelligent, they bet on you, they bet on your idea, and then they write you a check immediately.
Yeah.
So it's basically about, call it a functional capital markets, which it allows entrepreneurs to take that risk.
Yeah.
And Africa at the moment, we don't have really sort of liquid capital markets that allows entrepreneurs to take big risks, in a sense. That's one part. But the second part is infrastructure. So what you need if you're an entrepreneur is you need to be able to say, I have a big dream, but I need to be able to build this as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
Which means I need to, store. I need to build, for example, I need to build a small language model. A language model that's local, that is very, very fluent in Venda, or that is fluent in Xhosa, or that is fluent in Zulu, that can function with a normal person that probably is in the rural area, or someone that is just better at communicating with these models in their own language.
Yeah.
So you train your local model to basically do incredible things within the context of Africa. And then you need to, like we said, models have to sit somewhere.
Yeah.
So you need to have those models sit somewhere. And then when they sit somewhere, they need a whole lot of energy. When they have a lot of energy, you basically have this infrastructure that you need to build and all of that. So you need someone that can go there and do, call it the hard grind and the hard work, which is, I call them enablers. So you get like all these people that are enablers that build all this infrastructure, and our governments, they're not doing it for us.
I see what you mean.
So you need these enablers to build that infrastructure for us. So what Strive has done is basically sort of from a telecom standpoint, he started building that, and then you went into the fiber stuff and started doing that, and you went into the data center stuff and you started building that infrastructure that enables entrepreneurs to start thinking about taking that risk in a sense. So what they're doing now with their partnership with NVIDIA and Cassava Technologies, they're basically bringing in what they call AI factories.
Yeah.
And the reason why they're called, which is the interesting part, that now intelligence is being manufactured. Right. This is, it's a new day.
Concept,
It's sort of a new day. It's a new concept. It's a completely new day.
Yeah.
That we are manufacturing intelligence. It's an AI intelligence factory on that. So you have all these models that are being trained in in those data centers, and you basically train them, and then out of those factories comes out intelligence, in a sense. And when we're talking about intelligence, we're talking about, okay, if you want to do something in agriculture, and you're thinking, okay, go, like we're struggling, we're not hitting the harvest that we want to hit and all of that, and we need assistance on an agriculture expert. These platforms or these models now can spew that information about agriculture, and then they can help alleviate poverty in that sense, or hunger in a sense. So they can do all of that. So you have these AI factories that are expensive to build because of the energy component, expensive to build because of the chips component, which are expensive, expensive to build because of the infrastructure, which is the data centers that you need to build on there. So what Cassava is doing is basically building all of this infrastructure.
Yes.
And then you as an entrepreneur, all you need to do is to dream big enough and definitely negotiate some favorable deal for you to host your small language model in there, or small vision model within their centers, and then you start, and they can rent out.
That's real estate now.
It's not real estate, exactly.
Yeah,
so they can basically rent out those GPUs. They can rent out the GPUs to you, and then you can basically build your dream in a sense. So that is what Cassava Technologies is working on, and people should definitely look it out. We'll put it in the link below on our podcast, and people can go out there, look at what they're doing, and then if you're an entrepreneur or someone that wants to build something, you can see what sort of opportunities and partnerships with a structure like that can you basically build in a sense. So we are putting on the spotlight Cassava Technologies, and Strive Masiwa did not give me money to do this.
Yeah, we're just putting you on the spotlight.
We're just putting you on the spotlight, but you didn't give me money to basically do this.
Yeah.
But it's basically exciting that there are some stuff that are being built in Africa, and there is sort of the infrastructure enablement that's happening within the African context, which is makes everything exciting.
Yeah, I think like what we said, we asked the question earlier on in terms of how do we start implementing in Africa, and I think this is a very good concept for us to say we can now learn and have our own narrative in terms of the types of AI that we're giving out or we're creating that solves African problems.
Yeah. And I mean, the idea there is like, okay, could you have electricity, right? So that's the analogy. You have electricity. Electricity, you can use it for a whole lot of different things. So the question is, what do you want to use the electricity for? Do you want to use electricity for heating, for example? Or do you want to use it for cooling? Or do you want to use it for lighting? Or do you want to use it for electrical vehicles? So what exactly do you want to use that electricity for? So it is more like it's a bit fungible, and you can sort of use it for anything. It's a broad resource that you can use for anything.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with intelligence, in a sense. So intelligence is basically, I would call it, it's basically your ability to be able to solve problems, in a sense.
Yeah.
Your ability to solve problems. So you are there, you can do the planning, you can do the organization, you can do everything. So your ability to solve those problems is important. And then once you have that intelligence, it's like, okay, what do you want to use it for in Africa? And we have a lot of problems. That's a fact. So a lot of problems need a whole lot of intelligence,
Solutions, yeah.
a whole lot of solutions to be able to drive policy, to drive the way people think about things and all of that. And we might be even thinking about, in Africa, maybe let's have an AI government, and then let's remove these humans that are corrupt and that are doing all sorts of things. And then we have an AI government on that.
That's governance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We have less people to pay that are driving, that are going out on the streets driving fancy cars and going to all these summits and spending.
We won't get the budgets that are going to be delayed.
Exactly. We won't get budgets that are going to be delayed.
Yeah.
We have sort of I call it a predictable outcome, or we can have call it a sort of more condensed government with the support of AI.
That's right.
In a sense. Or we can still keep the humans, but now their participation is now on steroids, which in the service delivery just increases dramatically because they're being held by AI, in a sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing, and shout out to Cassava, where we see you and just keep on doing it.
Yeah, we see you, Cassava. These guys are doing some very, very cool, very cool stuff, in a sense. I mean, they have been involved, for example, with Africa data centers as well on there, but more on the cloud version.
Okay.
But this sort of new AI factories is something that is really coming in a very exciting way.
Yeah.
On there. Yeah. So this is the Bytes Biltong podcast, and we're excited. We'll bring you more of this information about tech. We'll put some really great entrepreneurs that are working on interesting stuff on the spotlight.
Yeah.
And we're going to be learning together, having a good time together, laughing together. And we are also part of this journey. So we are not experts. People on the internet, they come through and say what you said here was not the right thing, and that was not the right translation. and also those things. Like, our goal is to basically learn together and really get AI to be, on your mind when you're doing what you're doing. Can this be easier with AI, in a sense? So this is an exciting time, and this is me. I'm my buddy Shepherd.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Cheers.
Cheers.